I just want to bring you some sad breaking news now, and that is that the actress Diane Keaton has died at the age of 79. This is being reported by...
Now we have sad news from the world of entertainment. American media is reporting that legendary actress, director and producer Diane Keaton has died at the age of 79.
Hollywood just lost one of its most iconic, quirky, and beloved stars, Diane Keaton. And after days of swirling rumors, her son, Duke Keaton, is finally speaking out and confirming what fans have been fearing and what really happened behind those rumors. From the truth about her private struggles to the legacy she's leaving behind, this is the emotional story behind Diane Keaton's passing and what her family just revealed.
My first guest tonight is a very unique young lady. She is just what she seems to be. She's rather shy. She's a very talented young actress who was in The Godfather. She's been in Hair, Play It Again, Sam. And she sings, but how would you describe her? Shy?
She's kind of a fae, I think, mystic. She's very sweet.
Would you welcome Miss Diane Keaton?
I mean, she, you know, she was so great in so many things. And my kids said, make sure you say First Wives Club. That was her favorite.
It all began the way most celebrity rumors do, with a vague post online, a blurry photo, and a lot of confusion. Around October 11, 2025, social media suddenly lit up with claims that Diane Keaton had passed away at her Palm Springs home. But at first, no one knew what to believe. There wasn't a single verified report, no statement from her family, not even a TMZ update, just silence. Fans immediately started asking questions. Some people claimed they saw emergency vehicles near her neighborhood. Others said they spotted her son, Duke Keaton, looking visibly upset. But without any official confirmation, it all felt like one of those situations where the internet gets ahead of the facts. For nearly a day, there was nothing, no denial, no confirmation, and that silence only fueled more worry. Diane had always been a deeply private person, especially in recent years. She'd been spending more time away from Hollywood, focusing on photography, family, and the quiet life she loved. So, when no one spoke up, fans began to fear the worst. Then came the photo that changed everything. Duke Keaton was seen leaving Diane's Palm Springs home, dressed casually, head down, no entourage, just a son clearly processing something painful. Within hours, the family released an official statement confirming what everyone had hoped wasn't true. Diane Keaton had passed away peacefully in her sleep, following a short battle with pneumonia. The message was brief but heartfelt. Diane passed peacefully in her sleep, surrounded by loved ones. It was a simple, dignified farewell, very much in Diane's style. Her passing hit people hard, not just because she was a Hollywood legend, but because she'd always felt so real.
Know if she was sick or if this was sudden.
This, for me, was sudden. I had no idea that she was sick, like in the way that she was.
In the months before her passing, Diane Keaton had slowly stepped out of the spotlight. She'd always been a bit private, but lately, fans noticed her absence. After the California wildfires damaged parts of her Los Angeles home, she moved to Palm Springs, a quieter, sunnier place where she could focus on herself, her photography, and her close circle of friends. There hadn't been any big tabloid-style death hoaxes like some celebrities get, but there were subtle signs something wasn't right. A few longtime friends mentioned that she'd been dealing with health problems, though no one ever said exactly what. Diane hadn't been seen in public for about 6 months, and when she missed a few charity events she usually never skipped, fans started to worry. Around that same time, a few gossip sites even ran quick stories trying to debunk false death rumors. Ironically, just days before the real news broke on October 11th. Diane had quietly faced health challenges throughout her life. In her younger years, she was open about her struggles with bulimia. Later, she dealt with skin cancer in her 60s, something she spoke about candidly to raise awareness. And in recent years, she'd battled recurring respiratory issues that made it harder for her to attend events or film. Still, she never turned it into a public story. That just wasn't her style. So, how exactly did she die?
Primary bacterial pneumonia, a lung infection that can sometimes occur after a cold or flu, is what killed the beloved Oscar winner. The onset is listed as days before her death.
It was pneumonia, something simple but serious, especially at her age. At 79, Diane's immune system just couldn't fight it off the way it used to. She'd been in the hospital briefly in late September, but chose to return home soon after. According to a close friend, she'd said, "If I'm going to go, I want to go in my own bed with my dogs nearby." That was Diane, fiercely independent, sentimental, and grounded to the end. When the news broke, tributes started pouring in from across Hollywood. Director Nancy Meyers, who worked with her on Something's Gotta Give, called her a once-in-a-generation talent. Bette Midler wrote, "She made neurotic look good." Even Woody Allen, despite their complicated past, released a statement saying Diane was the heartbeat of every film she touched.
No! Oh, God! What is this? Okay. Okay, you stay where you are. We have a knife.
Do you live here?
Look, mister, I am gonna dial 911, and you are not gonna move. Zoe, hand me the phone.
No, you don't understand.
But Diane's influence went far beyond the screen. She reshaped fashion without ever trying to. The oversized suits, the wide-brimmed hats, the turtlenecks, that was just her. No stylist forcing a trend, no marketing gimmicks. It was pure Diane Keaton, and it inspired generations of women to embrace their quirks instead of hiding them. She also had a lifelong passion for architecture and design. Her Instagram was a cozy mix of old homes, rustic barns, and sun-drenched California patios, snapshots of the beauty she saw in everyday spaces. She even published a few books about home design and restoration, showcasing her eye for character and history. It wasn't just a side hobby, it was part of who she was, a creative mind that found art in everything around her. Even in her later years, when she wasn't acting as much, Diane stayed curious. Friends said she was always reading, writing, or taking photos. She never stopped creating, even if the world wasn't always watching.
Let's talk men, do you mind? Not men. Now, Diane has starred opposite some of Hollywood's most attractive leading men. Describe some for us. Jack Nicholson.
Okay, here's the thing about Jack.
Diane Keaton never married, and she was always upfront about why. "I didn't want to give up my independence," she once said, and she meant it. But while she didn't have a husband, she had something far more meaningful. Her 2 children, Dexter and Duke. They were her world. Diane adopted Dexter first in the mid-1990s, and then Duke a few years later in 2001, when she was 55. Becoming a mom later in life was something she often called her greatest adventure. In her memoir, Then Again, she wrote about how adoption gave her a sense of family she'd longed for. Not the Hollywood kind, but the real kind, full of laughter, chaos, and unconditional love. Dexter, now a mom herself, has stayed out of the spotlight, living a quiet life with her family. Duke, meanwhile, made occasional appearances with Diane at events. Always by her side, though usually looking like he'd rather skip the red carpet entirely. Still, their closeness was obvious. Diane once said, "Being a mom is the most honest thing I've ever done." And anyone who saw her with her kids knew she meant it. In her final days, it was Duke who stayed with her. Friends say he handled everything, from the hospice arrangements to the family statement, quietly and respectfully, just the way his mother would have wanted. When he was photographed leaving her Palm Springs home after her passing, he looked heartbroken, but calm. No entourage, no cameras invited, just a son saying goodbye to his mom. When the family statement was released, It carried his presence even if his name wasn't directly attached. Diane passed peacefully in her sleep, surrounded by loved ones, it read. For fans, that confirmed what they'd feared. The rumors were real. But for those who knew her story, it also said something deeper, that Diane left the world exactly as she lived, surrounded by love, on her own terms, and with her family close. All right, let's rewind a bit and talk about who Diane Keaton really was. Because if you're younger or just dipping into classic movies, you might not fully get just how much of an icon she really was.
Did any of them ever beat you?
Why don't you sit down?
No, I'm not going to stay long. I can't.
There's some things I'd like to talk to you about.
She was born Diane Hall on January 5th, 1946 in Los Angeles. Her upbringing was surprisingly down to earth for someone who'd go on to become one of Hollywood's biggest names. Her mom, Dorothy, was a homemaker who once won a Mrs. Los Angeles pageant, and that little taste of showbiz actually sparked Diane's first interest in performing. Her dad, Jack, was a civil engineer and real estate broker, and together they raised 4 kids in a middle-class Free Methodist household. Diane was the oldest, smart, creative, a little rebellious, and always itching to do something different. In high school down in Santa Ana, she joined every club that had anything to do with performing, acting, singing, you name it. She even played Blanche Dubois in a student production of A Streetcar Named Desire, which is wild considering how that character's blend of charm and vulnerability would kind of echo Diane's screen persona later on. After graduating in 1964, she took classes at Santa Ana College and Orange Coast College, but school wasn't where her dreams were pointing. So she dropped everything and moved to New York City to chase acting for real. Once there, she realized she wasn't the only Diane Hall in the business, so she borrowed her mom's maiden name. And that's how Diane Keaton was born. She studied at the neighborhood playhouse under Sanford Meisner, diving deep into the Meisner technique, all about living truthfully in the moment, something that would later define her acting style. To pay the bills, she sang in nightclubs and took odd jobs while auditioning. Her big break came in 1968 when she landed a role in the Broadway musical Hair, and in a move that totally summed her up, she became the only cast member who refused to do the nude scene, even though it was optional. That one decision said everything about her: confident, grounded, and never one to follow the crowd just because it was expected. That attitude carried her through her entire career. She wasn't chasing trends or trying to fit in. She was just Diane.
Tell me about Sleeper, because that became sort of a classic Woody Allen movie. Did you have any inkling during the process that this was going to be huge?
I just liked being his stupid sidekick. I loved it, and she was such a jerk. I love jerks.
Really?
I wish I could excel at, maybe, I don't know, yeah, I'd like to do a few.
Then came Woody Allen, the creative partnership that would shape much of Diane Keaton's early career. They first met in 1969 when she auditioned for his Broadway play Play It Again, Sam. She landed the role, snagged a Tony nomination, and unknowingly kicked off one of the most memorable actor-director collaborations in movie history. Diane and Woody dated on and off during the 1970s, but even after they split, they stayed close friends for decades. Their chemistry, both on and off screen, was undeniable. Their first film together was the 1972 movie version of Play It Again, Sam. But that same year brought something even bigger: The Godfather. Playing Kay Adams, Michael Corleone's wife, opposite Al Pacino, Diane found herself in the middle of one of the most iconic films ever made. The movie was a monster success, grossing over $250 million worldwide and winning Best Picture at the Oscars. She returned for The Godfather Part 2 in 1974 and Part 3 in 1990. completing her journey as the moral center of the Corleone saga. Funny enough, she often said she felt totally out of her depth, surrounded by legends like Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, and Robert De Niro. But that humility only made audiences love her more. The 70s were truly Diane's golden decade with Woody Allen. In Sleeper, she played a delightfully pretentious woman thrown into a bizarre sci-fi future. Then came Love and Death, a wild satire of Russian literature that showed off her comedic timing.
You play very well.
Oh, yeah? So do you. Oh, God, what a dumb thing to say, right? I mean, you say it, you play well, and then right away, I have to say you play well. Oh, God, Annie. Well, oh, well. La-di-da, la-di-da, la-la, yeah.
But Annie Hall in 1977 was the lightning strike. The film became a cultural moment, sweeping the Oscars for Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Original Screenplay, and earning Diane an Oscar for Best Actress. The character of Annie was basically a mirror of Diane herself, witty, awkward, a little neurotic, and completely original. And of course, there was the fashion. The oversized men's suits, vests, ties, and wide-brimmed hats weren't a stylist's creation. They were her own clothes. She shopped thrift stores, mixed masculine and feminine styles, and somehow made it all look effortless. Ralph Lauren even credited her with popularizing that androgynous, laid-back aesthetic. Overnight, the Annie Hall look became a phenomenon. Diane didn't stick to just comedy. She had a real knack for surprising people, and in 1977, right after Annie Hall, she completely flipped the script with Looking for Mr. Goodbar. It was dark, gritty, and nothing like the charming, neurotic characters people associated her with. She played a young teacher living a double life, caught up in a spiral of risky choices. The film shocked audiences, but critics praised her for showing how fearless she could be. She followed that with Interiors in 1978, Woody Allen's first serious drama. Diane played one of three sisters trying to navigate their parents' emotional breakdown, a quiet, haunting film that showed her depth as a dramatic actress. Then in 1979, she was back to witty, whip-smart banter as the intellectual love interest in Manhattan, another Allen classic that captured New York in all its neurotic glory. By the 1980s, Diane was firmly established as one of Hollywood's most versatile actresses. She teamed up with Warren Beatty for Reds in 1981, playing journalist Louise Bryant during the Russian Revolution. The movie was massive. Beatty directed, produced, and starred, and Diane earned another Oscar nomination for Best Actress. The two even dated briefly, which only fueled the buzz around the film. She didn't slow down. Shoot the Moon paired her with Albert Finney in a raw, emotional story about a collapsing marriage. In The Little Drummer Girl, 1984, based on John le Carré's spy novel, she proved she could handle intense thrillers. That same year, she starred opposite Mel Gibson in Mrs. Soffel, playing a warden's wife who falls in love with a convicted criminal. Another bold, unexpected choice. And in Crimes of the Heart, 1986, she joined Jessica Lange and Sissy Spacek for a dark comedy about three eccentric Southern sisters, balancing humor and heartbreak like only she could. By the late 80s, Diane was expanding behind the camera too. Her directorial debut was Heaven, a documentary exploring what people believe about the afterlife, a subject tied to her own lifelong curiosity about faith and spirituality. That same year, she starred in Baby Boom, playing a high-powered businesswoman who unexpectedly inherits a baby. The film was a hit and marked the beginning of her long collaboration with writer Nancy Meyers, who would later direct Diane in some of her biggest 2000s hits. And here's a fun bit of 80s trivia. Diane even directed a few music videos, including Belinda Carlisle's Heaven is a Place on Earth. Who would have thought the queen of quirky rom-coms also had an MTV moment? By the time the 90s rolled around, Diane Keaton had fully grown into her next chapter, playing women who were confident, funny, and a little wiser from life's curveballs. She kicked off the decade reprising Kay Adams in The Godfather Part 3, 1990, finally closing out the Corleone family saga. A year later, she showed her lighter side again in Father of the Bride, 1991, playing Nina Banks, the calm and loving mom opposite Steve Martin's overdramatic dad. It was classic family chaos, and audiences loved it so much that a sequel followed in 1995. She reunited with Woody Allen one more time for Manhattan Murder Mystery, 1993, a funny, Hitchcock-style whodunit that reminded everyone how perfect their comedic rhythm still was. Around that same time, she also moved behind the camera again, directing Unstrung Heroes, 1995, a tender coming-of-age film that proved her directing chops were no fluke. Then came The First Wives Club in 1996, an absolute cultural moment. Starring alongside Goldie Hawn and Bette Midler, Diane helped turn a movie about 3 divorced women getting revenge on their exes into a massive box office hit and a feminist favorite. That same year, she took a dramatic turn in Marvin's Room, sharing the screen with Meryl Streep and a young Leonardo DiCaprio. It was a heavy story about illness and forgiveness, and it earned Diane her 3rd Oscar nomination for Best Actress. She also did some impressive TV work in the 90s. Her portrayal of Amelia Earhart in a 1994 biopic earned her an Emmy nomination, and she directed episodes of Twin Peaks and China Beach. Later, she even produced the TV series Pasadena in 2001. The 2000s brought some of her most beloved roles. She directed Hanging Up, 2000, starring Meg Ryan and Lisa Kudrow, and then starred in Something's Gotta Give, 2003, written and directed by Nancy Meyers. Playing Erica Berry, a successful playwright who falls for Jack Nicholson's aging bachelor, earned Diane both a Golden Globe and another Oscar nomination. That scene where she sobs uncontrollably at her laptop? Instantly iconic. Because honestly, who hasn't been there? She followed that with The Family Stone, where she played the tough but warm matriarch of a messy holiday family, and Because I Said So with Mandy Moore, showing off her sharp comic timing again. Then came Morning Glory with Harrison Ford and Rachel McAdams, another fun, quick-witted role that felt perfectly Keaton. In her later years, Diane never really slowed down. She kept working steadily and always seemed to choose projects that fit her, full of heart, humor, and a touch of chaos. Darling Companion, The Big Wedding with Robert De Niro, and So It Goes with Michael Douglas, 5 Flights Up with Morgan Freeman, Love the Coopers, the list goes on. She even joined Pixar, voicing Dory's mom in Finding Dory, and kept charming audiences in smaller films like Hampstead. Then came Book Club, alongside Jane Fonda, Candice Bergen, and Mary Steenburgen, a hilarious and surprisingly touching story about older women rediscovering love and excitement through 50 Shades of Grey. The sequel, Book Club: The Next Chapter, followed in 2023. And because she could still pull off just about anything, she led Palms, 2019, playing a woman who starts a cheerleading squad in a retirement community. Then came Green Eggs and Ham, where she lent her voice to the animated series, and films like Mac and Rita, Maybe I Do, Arthur's Whiskey, and Summer Camp, her final film role. When it came to her personal life, Diane Keaton did things entirely her own way. She never married, and she never apologized for it. In interviews, she often said she was genuinely happy being single, joking that she didn't want to give up her independence. Over the years, she had high-profile relationships with some of Hollywood's biggest names, Woody Allen during the 1970s, Al Pacino on and off throughout the Godfather years. They officially split around 1990, and Warren Beatty in the late 70s while filming Reds. But for Diane, romance was never the defining part of her story. What really mattered most to her was family. She adopted her daughter Dexter in 1996 and her son Duke in 2001 when she was in her mid-50s. In a 2008 Ladies' Home Journal interview, she said motherhood had been something she'd thought about for years. And when she finally decided to do it, she dove in completely. She raised both kids quietly, keeping them out of the Hollywood spotlight and giving them the kind of grounded, private upbringing she'd always valued. Diane was also candid about her health struggles. In her 20s, she battled bulimia, something she later described as consuming up to 20,000 calories a day during her worst moments. Therapy and self-acceptance helped her heal. Later in life, she was treated twice for basal cell carcinoma, a form of skin cancer, and she spoke openly about the importance of taking care of your skin. By the mid-1990s, she had become a vegetarian and often talked about how much better it made her feel. In the years before her passing, close friends quietly shared that Diane had been dealing with an unnamed illness. She'd lost weight and appeared frail at times, but true to her nature, she kept it private. One friend told TMZ that her final battle with pneumonia came after months of declining health. Diane Keaton's legacy, though, goes far beyond her filmography. She was a trailblazer, a woman who showed you could be quirky, intelligent, stylish, and utterly yourself in an industry that often tries to mold people into something else. She aged publicly and gracefully, never chasing plastic perfection or hiding behind filters.
We go back a long way, Diane and I, but let me, I don't know how to describe her to you, actually. You're probably familiar with the fictional movie character Eve Harrington. This is not to suggest that Diane, when I met her, was ruthlessly ambitious.
Can
I put it right on eBay for you? Oh, God. You know, really, I just want to cry. That's all I want to do.
In 2017, the American Film Institute honored her with the AFI Life Achievement Award, one of Hollywood's highest honors. Woody Allen, her longtime collaborator and friend, presented it, calling her his muse. After her death, tributes poured in from across the industry. Woody called her unlike anyone who ever lived. Nancy Meyers wrote, "She made everything better." Jane Fonda said simply, "A spark of life." And from Al Pacino, Steve Martin, Bette Midler, and countless others came stories and memories that painted a picture of a woman who inspired, amused, and uplifted everyone around her. She wasn't just a great actress, she was a force. And she made being yourself look like the coolest thing in the world. So that's the story of Diane Keaton. If you love this look back at her life and legacy, give this video a like, drop a comment with your favorite Diane Keaton moment, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories about Hollywood icons who truly left their mark.